Blessings and welcome to today's Law Enforcement Daily Devotional. Today we're in Matthew 27 and 28, Mark 15 and 16, Luke 23 and 24, and John 19 and 20. The crucifixion of Christ, the Passion as it's called. Matthew 27:63. When I started reading this morning, this verse stuck out like a sore thumb. Did you catch it when you were reading this? The Pharisees are talking to Pilate and they say, "Sir, we remember that when he was still alive, that deceiver said, 'After 3 days, I'm going to rise again.'" That statement was basically an accusation made towards Jesus during the civil trials. And the fact that they knew Jesus said that and that Jesus was talking about raising from the dead after 3 days and not destroying the temple is evidence to their guilt, that they were complicit in this conspiracy to kill Jesus. And that verse, if you look back at Matthew 26, verses 60 through 62, it says, "They did not find any, even though many false witnesses came forward. But later on, two came forward and said, 'This man stated, I'm able to destroy the temple of God and rebuild it in 3 days.' The high priest stood up and said to him, 'Do you not answer? What is that these men are testifying against you?'" So they're acting like they didn't know what was meant by this. But they knew the true meaning behind it. They knew Jesus was saying he was going to be raised from the dead. Just our law enforcement takeaway, I guess. The evidence that we find to convict the Pharisees. And then in John 19:31, it says, "Then the Jews, because it was the day of preparation." Now remember this. Then the Jews. So this is initiated by the Jews, because it was a day of preparation, so that the bodies would not remain on the cross on the Sabbath, for that Sabbath was a high day. These Jews asked Pilate that their legs might be broken, so that they might be taken away. And you talk about being cruel. The Jews asked Pilate to go break their legs, speed the death process up, so we can go ahead and get them buried. We got things to do. Cruel, no compassion. And by breaking the legs, see, when you're hanging on a cross, and forgive me for this, but you would be, your hands, they'd put a nail through the wrist and nail you up. If they put it in the hands, the soft tissue would tear and you may fall off because of the weight. So they put it through these two, in between these two bones. It doesn't break a bone, it goes in between the bones. Then they do nail it into the soft tissue of the foot, again, not breaking any bones. And so in order to breathe, you're up like this. Well, this closes everything off when your arms are up like this. So you have to push up to breathe. Well, you're pushing up on your feet, and on this little pedestal they put your feet on. And you're pushing on feet that have a nail, a 7 to 9 inch nail that is driven through your feet. The pain would be unimaginable, but you'd be forced to endure that pain to be able to push yourself up so you could breathe. Now, pushing yourself up, if they broke your legs, all of a sudden you can't push yourself up to breathe anymore and you suffocate. That's how they speed death along, by breaking the legs. Just cruel. I mean, the Romans, to come up with crucifixion, well, it was actually, they took it from the Assyrians, but the Romans perfected crucifixion to be the most excruciating death in the history of mankind. But then the Jews made it even worse by breaking the legs. Anyway, enough of that. So let's go to, about the breaking of the bones. So Jesus is nailed in the wrist and he's nailed in the feet. and none of his bones are broken by driving a nail through it. That would kind of defeat the purpose. If you ripped the skin and broke the bones, then it would kind of defeat the whole crucifixion and the science behind what makes it so cruel and harsh and painful. But this was also done to fulfill scripture. It's amazing because in Exodus 12:46, now I'm going back to the Passover, and remember, Jesus represents the Passover lamb, the sacrificial lamb, the lamb that was killed and his blood was shed and put over the doorpost to protect the families of the Israelites. Jesus is that one sacrifice for all. So he's the sacrificial lamb. Well, in Exodus 12:46 it says, "It is to be eaten in a single house. You are not to bring forth any of the flesh outside of the house, nor are you to break any of its bones." See, breaking a bone of a lamb would cause it to not be eligible to be a Passover lamb. You'd have to go get another lamb and start over because its bones were not to be broken. So Jesus, to fulfill that, can't have his bones broken. So he dies on the cross before they're able to break his legs. And so in order to figure out whether or not he was actually dead, they shoved a spear in through his ribs and pierce his heart. And when they do, the blood and the water flow out. And I'm gonna, at the end here, I'm gonna give you an article. I'm gonna tell you about it, and you can look it up. I'm also gonna, matter of fact, I'm gonna put this article where I usually put my email address, or maybe on the other side or somewhere. I'm gonna put this article on here for you so you can get access to it. It's a fantastic article. It's a little graphic because it goes through the crucifixion, but it goes through the medical realities of what happened to Jesus. So I want to put that up, and it's by a doctor named Colleen Sharir, and he's a PhD, and the title of it is "The Science for the Crucifixion." It's just incredible. Um, anyway, John 19:33. Um, but but coming to Jesus, when they saw that he was already dead, they did not break his legs. And then down 3 verses in 36, for these things came to pass to fulfill scripture, not a bone of him shall be broken. Just incredible. There's so much to just that one act of not breaking Jesus' bones. But we're going to end here for today. Tomorrow we'll be in Matthew 28, Mark 16, Luke 24, John 20 and 21. Be safe, and I'll see you tomorrow.